Adam Thielen is done as a Minnesota Viking. What were his 10 best moments in purple? Find out on today's Minnesota Sports Rankum.
This is Minnesota Sports Rankum, part of Locked On Sports Minnesota, and it starts now.
Welcome into Minnesota Sports Rankum. I'm your host, Sam Ekstrom. I'm on Twitter at Sam Ekstrom, part of this Locked On Sports Minnesota crew. It's the show that settles debates and starts new ones, Minnesota Sports Rankum. Today, in a way we react to, in response to Adam Thielen's release from the Minnesota Vikings, we have been examining his legacy, and today we will honor that legacy. He was a really fun Viking, an all-time Viking, probably a Ring of Honor member, and we don't want to shortchange him on the way out, so we're going to examine his top 10 moments as a Minnesota Viking in his 10-year Vikings career. A lot of accomplishments to sift through for Thielen, a lot of great catches that we will focus on in today's episode. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. Adam Thielen, you all know the story. Minnesota State Mankato, $500 scholarship, went to a regional combine, ran a 4.4 something, and wound up on the Vikings practice squad as a UDFA. He turns into arguably the third greatest Vikings receiver of all time behind Chris Carter and Randy Moss. Some might say that Jake Reed's above. Some might say Anthony Carter's above. Some might even say Stephon Diggs is above him. Regardless, one of the best Vikings receivers ever. Let's focus on his top 10 moments as a Minnesota Viking. Number 10, we focus on what you might call his emergence as a wide receiver. I think there were a lot of little milestones along the way where you said, that's where he arrived. That's where he arrived. But the one that pops off the page, and if it would be higher on the list if it had come in victory, but a 202-yard performance at Green Bay. Nobody talks about this game because the Vikings ended up getting blasted at Lambeau Field. It was a forgettable 2016 season. The Vikings were in a tailspin. They went to Lambeau. Playoff hopes were on life support. They lost badly, but Adam Thielen was a bright spot. With Sam Bradford throwing in the passes, Adam Thielen logged 202 yards, which was not far off at the time of the Vikings single-game record, like one more 15-yard catch, and he would have been the record holder for a regular season game. Remember, Justin Jefferson just broke that record this year. But Adam Thielen's number 10 moment, it's the 202 game at Green Bay, which remained his career high all the way through his time with the Vikings. Number 9 on the list, Bill Belichick and Adam Thielen get into it in New England. Not many people get out of a tussle with Bill Belichick looking very good. And I guess I don't know how this was perceived nationally. It certainly made the rounds on social media, and the news shows loved showing it. I think people enjoy watching Belichick own people, but I admired Adam Thielen not backing down from a legendary coach. And that was still Bill Belichick at the height of his powers. Maybe he's lost a little luster with some of their lackadaisical years of late. But Adam Thielen was ticked off that a Patriot, I think, was faking an injury or basically giving New England or Belichick more time to challenge a spot. There was a Patriot laying down and delaying the next snap. And Thielen, as the Vikings were losing, this was the John DeFilippo saga. Minnesota wasn't playing well. Thielen let it boil over and got in Bill Belichick's face. And the two had a little verbal sparring match on the sideline. And Belichick is swearing at him. I don't really know what Thielen was saying, but I loved Thielen after the game. Cover this game in New England, back in a previous job, in the locker room. And Thielen still is steamed, you can tell, because I think he said what he was supposed to say. Something like, yeah, I got to control my emotions in that situation. I have a lot of respect for Bill Belichick, but I found it interesting that their players decided to lay down on the field before that snap. Interesting timing, and he couldn't help himself. He was still burnt about that moment in the game that the Vikings ended up losing. But you talk about the competitiveness of Adam Thielen. There's a lot of different examples. He was always a really fiery competitor, kind of wore his emotions on his sleeve. And this is definitely the best example of him not backing down to anybody. Bill Belichick. That's our number 9 Adam Thielen moment. All right, we talked about milestones early in Adam Thielen's career. How about his first touchdown? It wasn't a reception. It wasn't like a jet sweep. It wasn't a rush. It was a punt block TD. 2014, his first year on the 53-man roster. He was basically a special teamer exclusively. And in a freezing cold day at TCF Bank Stadium, the interim home of the Vikings, Adam Thielen gets after a punt by the Carolina Panthers, blocks it, recovers it, returns it for a touchdown, and does a Lambeau leap-style jump into the crowd at TCF Bank Stadium. Never seen a guy that fired up. He's pounding his chest. He's jumping around in the freezing cold. It was a wonderful debut for Adam Thielen, who I'm sure a lot of casual Vikings fans barely knew at the time. They might have heard his name when he was starring for Mankato, but they might not have even known he was on the Vikings roster. And there he is blocking a punt and returning it for a TD. And honestly, the way Mike Zimmer operated, Mike Zimmer was old school. He was a firm believer that guys needed to pay their dues on special teams, and that when you played well on special teams, it earned you more opportunities on offense or defense. And sure enough, within a few games, Adam Thielen was playing more on offense late in that season, caught a touchdown a couple games later from Teddy Bridgewater against the Bears, his first receiving touchdown. And I think that's a direct correlation to the good things he did as a special teamer. That's our number 8 Adam Thielen moment. Quick pause to tell you that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of Locked On. NBA and NHL seasons coming down the stretch. March Madness is here. Plenty of college basketball to wager on. You can get in the action with your no-sweat first bet if you're a new customer. Get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Download the safe, secure FanDuel Sportsbook app. Bet on everything from point total, money line, points scored, winning margin. You can change the spread. You can change the over-under. You can tease the lines. There's just a million ways to bet, and you can use those same-game parlays and load your bets up to combine them for a chance at bigger bets. So again, don't miss your chance to get the no-sweat first bet with up to $1,000 back in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Moving on to great Adam Thielen moment number 7. This is a specific catch that came in the course of an eventual loss for the Vikings. That's also kind of a theme here, is that some of these moments early came in defeat, and Adam Thielen was a part of a loss, and therefore it's less memorable, I think, in the zeitgeist. But a catch against P.J. Williams, where he mossed the cornerback for the New Orleans Saints. Not Marcus Williams, not the Minneapolis Miracle victim. No, P.J. Williams, number 26 for the Saints. This is a Sunday night football game, Kirk Cousins' first year. Kirk Cousins throws it out to the right sideline. Adam Thielen leaps against Williams, reaches behind his helmet, and hauls the ball in. Reached behind his helmet, hauled the ball in. Crazy catch. I mean, Adam Thielen has a knack for the acrobatic. His footwork is impeccable. His hands are impeccable. And at the height of his powers, his contested catch ability was insane. This was this was the final game in the record-setting stretch to start 2018, where Adam Thielen had 8 straight games at 100 yards or more. This was the final game of that stretch. He had 103 yards, 7 catches, and a touchdown, including this amazing highlight reel against P.J. Williams. If you haven't seen it, go back and watch those highlights. 2018 Vikings Saints, and it'll definitely be on there. Al Michaels on the call going, Adam Thielen, he catches everything. And he did that season. That was arguably Thielen at his peak before injuries, messed with some of his seasons. Adam Thielen 2018, man, really, really good. Number 6. I think one of the better Adam Thielen touchdown catches, not the best one. We'll get to that. One of the 3 best Adam Thielen touchdown catches I think that we've seen. And unfortunately, this coincided with the injury that cost him a lot of time in 2019. His first major injury, and maybe it was the start of a slippery slope. But number 6 moment, Thielen, and this is a Kirk Cousins throw to behold as well. Roll out to the left at Detroit. Week 6, I believe, 2019 season. Cousins throws a P to the back of the end zone. Thielen, running out of real estate, somehow gets both feet down, somehow hangs on to the ball, kind of traps it like against the back of his hand, and hauls it in for a touchdown at Detroit. A mesmerizing touchdown catch, but Thielen hurt himself on the play. That's where he hurt his hamstring and had to miss the majority of the rest of that regular season. So it's a great catch, one of many great touchdown catches, and I think one of the best he's ever had at Detroit from Cousins. Unfortunately, injured on the play, but it's our number 6 Adam Thielen moment to finish the catch while your hamstring is getting torn up. That's impressive. A lot of guys get hurt. You drop the ball, you lose your concentration. Not Thielen in this case. All right, number 5 Adam Thielen moment. It's a 2-for-1. 2020, back-to-back one-handed catches, back-to-back weeks. Adam Thielen had astonishing touchdown catches at Chicago and then home against Dallas. The one at Chicago and the one against Dallas. These are true one-handed catches. These are not one-handed catches where you support the ball with one hand and then get the other hand on top of it. No, these were hand tied behind your back, basically, using only one hand. The one against Chicago, again, you got to go back and watch these to fully appreciate them. Back of the end zone, Thielen hauls it in and then rotates the ball, almost like a little sleight of hand, rotates the ball into his chest so it wouldn't hit the ground with one hand, doesn't use his other hand, touchdown against the Bears. And then the following week, corner of the end zone, walks the tightrope, goes up high, brings it down. I don't know which catch is better. They are both 10 of 10. Amazing. Back-to-back weeks, Adam Thielen, a couple of his best as a Minnesota Viking. I don't know where the Detroit one stacks in against those, but when you use one hand, I guess I give it the leg up. So that's number 5. We got 4 to go. Number 4, Adam Thielen moment, 2017. We got to have a Keenum throw, right? Adam Thielen, a 65-yard catch and run against the Los Angeles Rams at US Bank Stadium. Vikings were 7-2 coming into that game. Rams were 7-2 coming into that game. Everybody was talking about Los Angeles. This was a huge football game. Case Keenum was the quarterback. It's 14-7 at this point, fourth quarter. Big part of the game. Keenum, quick step back, short throw. Adam Thielen, the catch, the cut, and he zooms downfield. Long runs are great when you're at home because the crescendo that is created in the crowd, it's not one loud pop, it's a build. So there's the catch, the cut, and then the roar as Adam Thielen gets closer and closer to the end zone. I mean, that's second year of the stadium. The energy was so high. The build up to that matchup, and for the Vikings to take that, I mean, there's really a clinching touchdown in that game. Thielen, not always known for his wheels, but showed him off right there with some of that 4.4 speed that got him into the league. 65-yard touchdown, outran the cornerbacks all the way down the field. Probably his best catch and run as a Minnesota Viking. That's the number 4 Adam Thielen moment. Before we finish up with your top 3, thanks for making Minnesota Sports Rank 'em your first listen today. Make sure to check out Locked On Sports Today as well. The biggest stories around the sports world in 20 minutes or less, plus instant reactions, game recaps, and Locked On's Take of the Day. Locked On Sports Today, available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Okay, number 3, all-time Adam Thielen moments. I think we got to go week 2, 2018 at Green Bay. You know what I'm talking about? This was the thread the needle throw by Kirk Cousins in the Daniel Carlson game. This game ended in a tie. Daniel Carlson missed 3 kicks. But remember, to get to overtime, the Vikings needed a dramatic late-game comeback. And that meant that Adam Thielen had to star with the game-tying touchdown reception. Kirk Cousins was going to get blasted. He threw a ball. I don't know how wide a football is. Let's say it's 7 inches. I don't know. He threw it into a 7.5-inch window. I mean, there was no room for him to fit that football between the cornerback and the safety. And Adam Thielen's on the back side of it. There was so much traffic. There were 2 defensive backs screening him off. His eyes must have been distracted so badly. He was falling backward, and he had no real estate. I mean, he was literally at the pylon. As he's falling down, that football comes into his chest. He hangs on amidst 2 defensive backs. I don't know what's better, the throw or the catch, but the catch was unbelievable. Thielen hauls that in. Vikings actually had to go for 2. They made it, and they sent that game to overtime. But I remember watching that from the Lambeau press box, jaw on the floor. I mean, you don't see a throw in that window ever. That is a 1% throw, probably one of the most difficult completions of Kirk Cousins' career and the most difficult catches of Adam Thielen's career. I'm sure that there's data on like the analytics, what percentage chance of completion that had. It had to have been 1%. It was the tightest of windows, and Adam Thielen finished it off. That's my number 3 Adam Thielen moment. The next 2 are playoff games. Number 2, Minneapolis Miracle. This play gets overshadowed because it was like the biggest play at the time, and then 6 other plays happened after it that took its place. So the Vikings are down 23-21 with just over 2 minutes left. It seems like this could be the final drive of the game. Case Keenum was kind of in his head a little bit in the second half. He had thrown up some YOLO throws. He threw an interception on a bad ball. He was getting happy feet. And he throws one to the heavens, a throw that no quarterback should make. Lobs it up high, way too much airtime. Defensive backs are flocking to the football. Adam Thielen gets held, number 1, on his way to the ball. So there's a flag. So that bails the Vikings out at any rate. But Thielen then goes up and makes the play for about a 30-yard grab with Lattimore all over him. Adam Thielen owned Marcus Lattimore. They must have met about 3 times, maybe 4. Adam Thielen had ownership of Marcus Lattimore, the first-round pick, and especially in that game, Lattimore had not a leg to stand on. I mean, Adam Thielen was superior in every way, made a handful of great grabs, but this one was the best. I mean, this one set them up in field goal range, and then the next 6 things happened, and people forgot about this catch. Kai Forbath hits the kick. The Saints go down the field. They convert a 4th down. Then Anthony Harris with a big stop. They make a field goal. Vikings have the Minneapolis Miracle. So the Adam Thielen catch lost in history, but I still got it right up here. Adam Thielen's catch in that game, if he doesn't make that catch, it might just be a run-of-the-mill 23-21 loss. The Vikings might not have ever even been in position for the Minneapolis Miracle later in that game. So considering the circumstances, the difficulty of the catch, that is the number 2 Adam Thielen moment in his Vikings tenure. So what's number 1? Well, it's a familiar setting. It's a familiar team. It's the Saints in the playoffs, 2019 season. So into the 2020 calendar year. This was the year that Adam Thielen missed a lot of time due to injuries. He wasn't himself at all for the last half of 2019. So for him to return in the 2019 playoffs, you weren't really sure what you were going to get. Vikings were in New Orleans, heavy underdogs. And Thielen was the catalyst, arguably, in this game. Aside from, of course, the obvious Mike Zimmer masterful defensive game plan, the Vikings had to make a number of plays on offense to pull this upset off, and they did in overtime. And how was it set up? After fumbling earlier in the game, remember, it wasn't all good for Thielen. He fumbled on the first drive of the game to set up a Saints field goal in overtime. Marshawn Lattimore out of the game. So I think Patrick Robinson was the replacement cornerback. Vikings picked on him, and Adam Thielen makes a Willie Mays basket catch inside the 5-yard line, got them down to the 2 in overtime, needing only a touchdown to knock off the Saints. Cousins Thielen connection at the perfect time. And it's one of those concentration catches that Thielen became known for, where he doesn't have the perfect sight line on the football. He has just got to put his hands out there and just go by instinct. Haul that one in, going to the ground, and the Vikings won that game in overtime. But that's the play that people remember, is about a 50-yard bomb from Cousins to Thielen to get down to the goal line, and Kyle Rudolph obviously with the game winner. But what a reemergence for Adam Thielen at the perfect time after he'd been hurt that year to come back. And then Adam Thielen used that as a launching point. And 2020 was a big year for him. He was a touchdown machine. And then 2021, obviously, the ankle injuries slowed him up. 2022, not quite the same, as we saw a little deterioration. But the prime of Thielen, I would say late 16 to early 2021. What a 5-year stretch. Truly a 5-year stretch that, and if you have a 5-year stretch or longer as a wide receiver, you're probably in the Hall of Fame. I don't know if Adam Thielen is a Hall of Famer, but he had quite a peak with the Minnesota Vikings. And we tried to capture his 10 best moments here as a Viking. Did I forget one? Let me know in the comments section. Adam Thielen's best moments, and if maybe I didn't forget one, but maybe there's an honorable mention you'd like to toss out there. I can certainly think of some other catches I left off the list. Let me know in the comments here on the YouTube channel. We're also a podcast, free and available wherever you prefer to listen to podcasts. That's all for today's Minnesota Sports Rankum. I'm Sam Ekstrom saying so long here on Locked On Sports Minnesota.